Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be doing a top 10 video, going to be going through my top 10 Talking Heads songs today. So yeah, a great band, one of the best of the kind of late 70s and early 80s kind of period, a great run of albums and singles as well. So this is going to be a bit of a mix of some well-known songs and some slightly deeper cuts like as well. So yeah, we'll just get right stuck into the list at number 10.
I'm so thin.
Which I'm going for the opening track on their seminal album Remain in Light, which is Born Under Punches and The Heat Goes On, which is just a great song to kick off this album. It's just so out there, like in its kind of, it's got very kind of, it's one of the most rhythmic songs with this very prominent kind of funky bass line, and then lots of kind of trippy like electronic kind of blips and kind of like a whole range of different sound effects on this one. I think there's some guitar pedal work from Adrian Belew like on here like as well. So it just sounds, there's no other song really like that sounds like this. Plus you've got some great like idiosyncratic lyrics like from like Burn, some of his most iconic lines on this, like that great opening line, "Take a look at these hands," you know, it just sort of kicks the album off and you just know that you're in for like a real treat. And it's just got, the song's just got this hypnotic nature to it as well, you know, you can really, it's kind of all based around the kind of like the rhythm and that, but there's so much going on with it that you can really just get lost like in like the kind of like the soundscape of this track. So no, yeah, Born Under Punches, absolute favourite of mine at number 10.
It's nothing but flowers. There was a factory.
Okay, so now at number 9 for me is one from their last album, an album called Naked, released in 1988, I believe. Not one of their most highly thought of albums, but I think this track, Nothing But Flowers, is one of their best. I think, again, it's a bit similar to Born Under Punches, very rhythmic kind of song, this one here. Certainly they were, they had kind of like, or they were sort of like embracing world music, like on this album, like very much. Was it kind of like the fashion, like of like the time a little bit. You'd had things like Graceland by Paul Simon, but kind of Talking Heads had kind of had a slightly longer history, like of like exploring like those kind of styles, particularly on albums like Remain in Light there. So this is a kind of like a return to that like kind of like sound. But this one for me, I just think really stands out because of like the lyrics, which I think are like top draw, kind of describing this kind of sort of this like this very natural kind of landscape, a kind of like a metropolis kind of thing where kind of commercialization has kind of like been destroyed. He sings like, once there were parking lots, now it's a peaceful oasis. This was a Pizza Hut and now it's all covered in daisies. And then you've got this really kind of catchy, like you got it kind of like sort of like response kind of line to it. A great roll call of guest stars on this. You've got Johnny Marr on guitar, Kirsty MacColl doing some backing vocals, and all round a really good song. So yeah, definite highlight from the latter half of their career. Okay, that's up now at number 8 for me. One of my favourite Talking Heads albums is their debut, which we will come back to a fair bit in this video. But at number 8, I'm going for the opening track, Oh Love Comes to Town, which is just a great way to kick off like your debut album. Just the way it starts with that kind of like those I think like four sort of like guitar, sort of like the like 4 guitar chords basically will kick off like the album, and then this very kind of danceable kind of riff, which kind of sort of like plays kind of like under like the track. I think it just works really well. It's got a kind of innocent kind of quirkiness to it, which you would lose very quickly when they got when they started working with Brian Eno. This album is very unique, like in like their catalogue, because it's just a snapshot of them right at the kind of start of their career, when they were still, I think, they were full piece by this album, like, but Jenny Harrison had just recently joined the band to kind of fill out like their live sound. So it's got this kind of like innocence, kind of college kind of rock kind of feel to it, which I think like works really well. And like on this track here, you've got kind of like sort of like, I think there's some calypso drums on it. It all just sounds messy, but it just works so well. It's just a very unique kind of blend of sounds, and yeah, like I love this album, and this is a great song to kick it off with. Okay, Okay, next up now for me at number 7, I'm going for the track "A Girlfriend Is Better." So this specifically, I think it has to be the live version with this on here, like the Stop Making Sense version. Studio version is really good, but I just think there's just something about like this live version which just really packs more off a punch. I think the drums just sound a bit meatier, the synths are a bit fatter like on it, and it just feels it just feels like a more kind of fulsome production. But it's still a great song though, it's like core. One of the first Talking Heads songs that I really got to know and love. So I think there's that kind of thing to it, but also kind of very iconic performance from the Stop Making Sense film with David Byrne coming out there's lag in like his like big suit, just very like it's very difficult sometimes to kind of divorce the kind of song from the kind of like the imagery like that like went along with it. But no, this is a great song for me at number 7. Okay, track now from that same album, Speaking in Tongues here. I'm going for the opening track on here, which is Burning Down the House. Now, this is one that I can probably take the live version or the studio version. I think both are absolutely stunning and, both absolute classic performances and kind of song construction from the kind of hooky sort of acoustic guitar lick that kind of kicks off the song. It kind of fades in very gradually. And then the kind of bulk of the track, you've got the super funky, I think it's like a synth-based part going on. And it just bounces along so well. It's such a delightful track. One of their bigger hits, and rightfully so. It's a great song. Okay, now we're going back to their debut album here for my number 5 choice, which is a bit more of a deep cut. It's The Book I Read, so maybe not one that most people would expect to see on a list of this nature, but as I said, I'm such a big fan of early Talking Heads, and this is one of my favourite tracks from this album. I just love the way, again, the song's constructed really well. It's got some great kind of very clean kind of sounding guitar work on it, which just gives it a real kind of sense of immediacy to it. But then this has got some very interesting chords on it. I like the kind of mood shifts like that it goes through, and just that chorus where there's no verse, where there's no lyrics to it. It's just David Byrne going na 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 na, and then you've got this very almost kind of quite dancey kind of electric piano kind of refrain, which is just very infectious, and then the song. Again, a bit like some of their later stuff on kind of Remaining Light, which have this kind of transcendent feel. This is quite an early example of that, where just you could just get really lost in the track, and kind of Burns' vocal becomes a lot more intense as it goes on. It's a really great song, and it would be my number 5. Okay, next up now at number 4, I'm going for Life During Wartime from Theatre Music album here. Again, another one of their more well-known tracks, and another song where it's very difficult to kind of choose between studio version or live version. I'd say Talking Heads are definitely one of the best live bands going, or certainly in terms of their recorded live performances, just sound incredible, and I think have in many cases gone down as the definitive version of their songs. And this is possibly a case where that applies. I mean, this is just a fast-paced track with great kind of verse lyrics describing this kind of post-apocalyptic kind of landscape, the aftermath of a war. He sings heard of a van that's loaded with weapons, packed up and ready to go, heard of some grave sites out by the highway, a place that nobody knows. It's just got this kind of this very uneasy kind of feel to it, which both in the lyrics but also Burns' delivery of them. And then this kind of catchy chorus line which kind of comes out of nowhere, this ain't no party, this ain't no disco, this ain't no fooling around bit, just works really well. And again, this is a track where it's very difficult to kind of divorce this from the kind of Stop Making Sense film sequence where you've got Byrne doing some incredibly creative dance moves on it. It's a great performance, and one of their all-time great songs. Okay, now my number 3 track, again another one that might raise a few eyebrows here, another one from the debut album, and it's not Psycho Killer, it's actually Pulled Up I'm going for, which is the closing track, which is a relatively like obscure choice, but I just, again, this really summarises me kind of like early Talking Heads, very raw kind of post-punk kind of feel to it, and kind of almost kind of post-punk before punk had even really kind of finished or was still kind of like going on. Very stripped back kind of sound, this one here, with very clean sounding guitars, and you've got some great kind of dual guitar work going on. I think David Byrne and Jerry Harrison are both playing guitar like on this, and they just interplay off together and like each other like so well. Again, a great vocal like from Byrne, which kind of talks about a kind of like quite like an uneasy kind of character who's sort of thinking about he sort of sings like, I think of things that I might be, I see my name go down in history. So it's got this kind of innocence feeling to it. You know, this was before they made it big. You know, this is just a kind of college band kind of coming up like with these songs. So it's got this kind of this kind of feeling of, this is a band before they made it big, before they became popular, which would very quickly kind of lose like that kind of lose like that sense of innocence like about them, which I think is really, really strong and like one of the most attractive things about this album. But then you've then got some like that chorus line like that, like I wasn't complaining, I was complaining, I was down in the dumps, I feel so strong now because you pull me up. Again, it's a really positive way to end like this album, and again Byrne's vocal is just very it really draws you in and like draws like your attention and keeps your attention like throughout the track. So yeah, Pulled Up for me, probably not one that would be on most people's lists, but for me is one of their all-time greats. Okay, next up now at number 2, I'm going for a track from the Little Creatures album, 1985, closing track of that album, Road to Nowhere. So this one is, for me, just one of the best 80s singles. It's a unique song in the sense it kind of starts off with this kind of, the choir, like, introduction, which then gives way to this kind of galloping rhythm, with again, I think there's a few accordions on it. It's quite a kind of different instrumental kind of texture to kind of like anything else like they've ever done, really. You know, kind of it's got a kind of slight hint of like Americana to it, but it doesn't go too heavily on that. You know, I think it just really works like as a great pop like single, really. And then again, the track, it just gallops along really nicely, but then kind of the ending bit is the really kind of sort of like hair stand on end kind of moment, like where he kind of goes like there's a city in my mind, come along and take that ride and it's all right. It's just one of their very, very, very best moments. It just sounds so euphoric, and then when they repeat it, it just builds so well, and you just feel like a real sense of release like with like this track. So yeah, a great song. It was their biggest UK hit single, I believe. It certainly was a top 10 single, one of their only singles to do that, I believe. But it's well deserved, like as that, one of like their very, very best songs. Okay, but now for me, at number 1, I am going for This Must Be the Place, Naive Melody here, which is, it is my favourite, and I think it might be most people's favourite, or certainly would be up there for most people, like I would say. I mean, it's quite, I guess, uncharacteristic for Talking Heads, like in many ways. It's a bit unlike the rest of that Speaking in Tongues album, you know, which were quite sort of big and kind of funky dance songs, you know. This one slows the pace down like a lot, with a kind of like, it's a base like a tender love song, really, you know, but kind of the lyrics are quite disparate, you know. It kind of doesn't follow like a linear narrative. It's kind of just a series of kind of sort of distinct kind of images, and some of them are just beautiful. Like he thinks, I think it's that line like at like the end about I'm just an animal looking for a home and to share the same space for a minute or two. But it just is just a really, really beautiful track. Again, I think this is a song where when they were recording it, they all changed instruments, so it does have that kind of it's almost a bit of like a return to the kind of innocent playfulness of like their debut album, you know, like a kind of band just trying to figure it out like a little bit, because you got Tina Weymouth, I think, is on guitar rather than bass, and I think Chris France is still on drums, but I'm not sure like what other like kind of like combinations they had like going on, like what other kind of like sort of like different kind of instruments, like they were like kind of like playing like on like this one, but it just works really, really, really well. It is one of their best songs, and yeah, it would get my number 1. So yeah, that's me come to the end of my top 10 songs by Talking Heads. So yes, I hope you have enjoyed the video. I would be interested to know what some of your favourites are in the comments below. I know there are at least 2 of their most popular songs, which I have not included, which probably would be in my top 20, I would say, but just as a top 10, I thought do something different, but also just pick the songs that I actually tend to listen to and enjoy, and like enjoy hearing like a lot more, and that's what I've done. Everyone will have a slightly different opinion on this, but no, would be interested to hear some of yours down below in the comments, and yep, I'll see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye.